Congratulations, once again you've made the perfect choice. Different faces, the same pattern. You call it chemistry, but your nervous system calls it familiarity. Familiarity often feels like love. The real question isn't why you keep meeting the same kind of person. The real question is why they feel like home. Why do you keep choosing the one person who ends up hurting you? Is this a coincidence or pain of your own making? It always begins intensely, fast, magnetic, urgent. The connection feels rare, almost special, almost like fate. But after some time, the same distance appears, the same anxiety returns, and the same silence follows. Different people, the same emotional story. The arguments sound familiar. The distance grows in the same way, and the ending arrives almost on schedule. This isn't coincidence, it's a pattern. But this isn't entirely your fault. Many of us get trapped in the same cycle, mistaking familiarity for something deeper. You didn't enter the relationship to be happy. You chose that person because they felt like a familiar kind of unhappiness. The brain doesn't prioritize happiness. It prioritizes predictability. Anxiety can feel like chemistry, and calm can start to feel like boredom. But intensity isn't intimacy. We say we start relationships to become happy, but the unconscious mind often feels safer with what's familiar than with what's happy. To the unconscious mind, happiness can feel like an untested risk. Pain, on the other hand, is a road you've already walked and survived. So instead of walking an unfamiliar road that might lead to happiness, we often return to the same path we already know, even when we know it will hurt us again. Psychology explains this phenomenon through attachment theory. Your first bond with your caregivers leaves a deep imprint on your brain. And so, you subconsciously try to reproduce that very same grammar in your adult relationships. If emotional support was inconsistent during those early years, you may have developed what psychologists call an anxious attachment style. The anxious type constantly seeks reassurance, while the avoidant type pulls away as the relationship gets closer. Ironically, you are drawn to the avoidant partner who leaves you feeling hollow. To you, that emptiness is what love has always felt like. This isn't healing. It's what psychologists call repetition compulsion. It's a subconscious attempt to resolve the unresolved wounds of your past through your current partner. But seeking healing from someone like the one who hurt you before rarely leads to real healing. It's time to break this cycle, but how do we actually stop repeating it? Change begins when you realize that the desperate choice you feel right now isn't an irresistible destiny, but a habit deeply ingrained in you. When we feel that overwhelming pull as if our chest might burst, we want to believe it's love, but sometimes that feeling is actually a desperate signal from a wound that hasn't healed yet. We become so used to the pain that even hurt begins to feel like love. If you begin to realize that the intense thrill you feel is actually familiar pain, then it's time to practice pausing. Not suppressing the feeling, but quietly watching it as it passes. When intense emotions come crashing in like waves, slow the relationship down for just 48 hours. Then ask yourself one question, not how excited does this person make me feel, but how peaceful do I feel with this person? Does someone feel stable, but strangely boring? Don't rush to leave. Stay a little longer. A nervous system used to chaos needs time to adjust to calm. Stable love may feel a little dull at first, simply because there's no emotional roller coaster. However, it requires a shift in perspective, seeing an uneventful day as stability, not boredom. The most courageous choice you can make is to choose peace over chaos. Not once, but again and again. Love shouldn't feel like survival. It should feel like safety. When you learn to hold your own inner wounds with compassion, you'll finally recognize someone who truly cares for you, instead of someone who simply resembles your past.